Long ago, when animals could talk like people and even walked on two legs, something very sad happened. A terrible famine came upon the land. That means there was no food anywhere. The sun burned hot every day. The ground became hard like stone and cracked open. The forests that were once green and full of fruits turned brown and dry. Rivers that used to sparkle with clear water became empty, dusty paths. All the animals were hungry. The lions, the monkeys, the antelopes, even the tiny ants. Everyone searched for food but found nothing. But the one who suffered the most was Imo the tortoise. His eyes, which were usually bright and clever, grew dull. His shell felt heavier each day because he was weak. He walked slowly across the dry land, turning over stones, looking under leaves, hoping to find even a tiny bite to eat. He wanted food not only for himself, but also for his dear wife at home. One day, while Imo was wandering sadly, he heard whispers. The birds were talking excitedly. Even though the famine was everywhere, the birds were preparing for their special yearly party, the feast in the sky. This feast was magical. It was held high above the clouds in a place only birds could reach. Every year, they gathered there to eat the most delicious food in the world. The stories about the feast made Imo's mouth water. Imagine tables as long as rivers, covered with roasted nuts, sweet fruits that glowed like lanterns, golden grains, and strange treats no animal on earth had ever tasted. The birds spoke with joy, laughing and singing about the feast. Imo listened and his heart filled with envy. He wanted to go too. But how could a tortoise who could not fly ever reach the sky? Imo was not only hungry, he was clever. He lay under a tree one evening, thinking hard. Then an idea came to him. If only birds can go because they have feathers and wings, he thought, then maybe I can make myself look like a bird too. The next morning, Imo began his plan. He went to the peacock. Brother Peacock, he said sweetly, your feathers are so beautiful. Mine are dull and ugly. Could you lend me just one feather to make me look better? The peacock, proud of his beauty, gave him one shining feather. Then Imo went to the swallow. Dear swallow, he said, I am studying bird feathers. Could you give me one of your sleek feathers for my research? The swallow agreed. He went to the owl. Wise owl, Imo said, sharing feathers is a sign of friendship. Will you share one with me? The owl nodded. And so, Imo went from bird to bird, telling each one a different story. He collected feathers of every color, blue like the sky, red like fire, yellow like the sun. At home, he used sticky tree sap to glue the feathers all over his shell and body. When he was done, he looked like a rainbow bird. No one had ever seen such a creature before. On the morning of the feast, all the birds gathered. Suddenly, Imo stepped out in his feather costume. The birds gasped. Who is this? Cried the eagle. We have never seen such a bird before. Imo stood tall and said calmly, my name is all of us. I have come from far away to join your feast. The birds were impressed. His name sounded grand and his feathers shone in the sunlight, so they welcomed him. Together they flew up into the sky. Imo's heart leapt with joy. He had never flown before. He looked down and saw the dry earth far below. He looked up and saw the endless blue sky. He was going to the feast. When they arrived, Imo could hardly believe his eyes. The feast was more wonderful than the stories. Tables made of clouds stretched everywhere. Plates overflowed with food. The air smelled sweet and rich. The birds sat down, ready to eat. But Imo had another trick. He stood up and asked loudly, friends, tell me, who owns all this food? The birds answered together, all of us. This feast belongs to all of us. Imo smiled slyly. Then it belongs to me, because my name is all of us. Before the birds could stop him, Imo began eating. He stuffed roasted grains into his mouth, swallowed fruits whole, and gobbled dish after dish. The birds stared in shock. When they tried to grab him, his glued feathers fell off one by one. Soon his disguise was gone, and everyone saw the truth. It was Imo the tortoise. The birds were furious. "You tricked us," shouted the eagle. "You stole our feast. You will pay for this." They decided not to carry him back to earth. "Find your own way down," they said angrily. Imo trembled. He knew he could not fly without feathers. He begged them, "Please, at least send a message to my wife. Tell her to put all the soft things, pillows, blankets, mattresses, outside. Then I will have a safe place to land." The birds agreed to send a message, but they were still angry, so they twisted his words. They told his wife, "Your husband says to bring out all the hard furniture, tables, chairs, wooden things, and put them outside." His wife trusted the message. She carried everything out and made a big pile of hard wood. High above, Imo looked down and saw his wife taking things out of the house. He smiled and said in his mind, "I tricked them again." He laughed loudly. Then he looked down once more and saw that everything was just the way it should be. Imo closed his eyes and jumped down. The wind whistled in his ears. He hoped to land softly, but instead he crashed onto the pile of hard furniture. His shell broke into many pieces like a pot shattering. His wife ran to him, crying. She picked up every piece of his shell and glued them back together with sap and clay. She worked carefully, lovingly. At last, the shell was whole again, but it was no longer smooth. The cracks and lines stayed forever. That is why tortoises today have shells with patterns and marks. The story of what Imo the tortoise did spread all through the animal kingdom. Every animal heard it, and they all learned from it. The story teaches us cleverness without kindness leads to trouble. True wisdom is using our talents to help everyone, not just ourselves. Imo was clever, but he used his cleverness for selfishness. He could have helped others during the famine. Instead, he tricked the birds and tried to take everything for himself. His trick brought him food for one day, but it also brought him pain forever.